picture a man washing up on a really desolate beach.
Oh, yeah, that opening scene.
Right. The tide is just violently pulling at his clothes. The sand is clinging to his exhausted frame, and as he slowly lifts his heavy head, he stares up at something entirely out of place.
It's so striking.
It really is. It's a massive, ancient, crumbling Japanese castle just perched right there on the edge of the sea.
Like it doesn't belong there at all.
Exactly. And he's dragged inside by these armed guards, thrown onto the floor, and brought before an impossibly old man whose face is just lined with decades of, unspoken history.
Right, they sit across from one another.
Yeah, and they begin to discuss a half-remembered dream. They talk about a leap of faith, and then a small metal spinning top is placed on the table.
It's a deeply atmospheric, vivid scene to kick things off.
It really is. Welcome to today's deep dive, everyone. We are looking at a man who possesses this terrifying skill. I mean, he can break into the most secure vaults in the entire world, the human mind.
But the irony is, he's entirely hopelessly trapped by his own inescapable memories.
Right, exactly. We all know the surface-level story of a corporate thief trying to get back to his kids, but today, we're really digging in. When you look at the architecture of his mind, he's a man addicted to his own grief.
Yeah, we aren't just looking at the mechanics of a heist today. We are dissecting how the human mind will literally build a fortress to protect its own trauma.
Which is such a wild concept for a heist story.
It really is, that opening on the beach. It is the perfect visual representation of being marooned in your own psychology.
Totally.
You have this infinite landscape of the mind, represented by the endless ocean and the towering fortress, but the protagonist is utterly paralyzed within it. The rules of the physical world, they just no longer apply here.
Right. We're stepping into a space where thoughts carry physical weight, right? Where
Sure.
secrets are locked in literal safes.
Exactly. And where repressed guilt manifests as a lethal adversary. To really understand this journey, we have to strip away our preconceptions of what a dream is and treat the subconscious like a battlefield.
So let's start with the central figure navigating this battlefield. His name is Cobb, and fundamentally he is what they call an extractor.
An extractor, right.
Yeah, he doesn't steal briefcases or hack mainframes. He steals corporate secrets directly from the minds of powerful executives while they are fast asleep.
It's a fascinating premise.
It is, but
Yeah.
I mean, how exactly does one pull a secret out of a sleeping brain? Like functionally, how does that work?
Well, the mechanism relies on a shared dream space. It isn't mysticism,
Yeah.
Within the context of this world, it's a clinical technological process.
Oh, like with the briefcase device.
Exactly. Through a specialized device housed in a portable briefcase, Cobb and his team administer a specific sedative and link their minds intravenously with a target.
So they're physically hooked up to each other?
Right. They construct a dream environment, an architectural stage, essentially, and they pull the target's consciousness into that stage.
And why do they have to be asleep?
Because when a person is asleep, their conscious mental defenses, their skepticism, and their guardedness are lowered.
Ah, I see.
The subconscious takes over, and, well, the subconscious is vulnerable to manipulation.
We see this vulnerability manipulated right at the beginning, too. Cobb and his point man, Arthur, are attempting an extraction on a highly powerful executive named Saito.
Right, in that dining room.
Yeah, they are in this incredibly luxurious, warm-toned dining room, and Cobb is trying to sweet-talk Saito into handing over a document. But then the scene seamlessly transitions.
It's so jarring.
It really is. Saito looks out the window, and they were suddenly in that collapsing Japanese castle we mentioned earlier.
Yeah, you walk out of a modern dining room and step onto a feudal terrace, and your sleeping mind just accepts it.
But why? Like, wouldn't you instantly know you were dreaming?
Well, the sleeping mind accepts it because in a dream, our brain creates and perceives the world simultaneously. Our mind just fills in the gaps.
That makes sense. We've all had dreams like that.
Exactly. This opening sequence really acts as a tutorial for the mechanics we're going to be dealing with. For instance, we are introduced to the concept of the kick.
Oh, right, the kick.
Yeah, if you are submerged deep in a shared dream state, you need a physical jolt to snap your consciousness back to reality. It simulates that sudden feeling of falling you sometimes get right before you wake up.
Like when you jolt awake in bed?
Exactly. During the Saito extraction, Cobb is pushed backward into a bathtub filled with water in a higher dream layer.
Oh, wow. So that physical sensation of sudden gravity loss and the shock of the water Pulls him out of the lower dream state.
You got it. It's a very physical anchor.
Okay, so the environment is built by Cobb's team, but it's populated by the target.
Right.
The people walking around in the dream, the guards, the waiters, the bystanders, they are called projections, right?
Yes, projections. They aren't real people hooked up to machines.
Right.
They are fragments of Saito's mind brought in to fill the empty space.
But during this extraction on Saito, things go horribly wrong. And it's not because Saito's projections figure out it's a heist.
Oh, it's much worse.
Yeah, it's because of Cobb himself. Right in the middle of the mission, this woman appears in the castle. She is elegant, beautiful, and she immediately starts sabotaging everything.
She is just a wrecking ball.
She really is. She tortures Arthur, she warns Saito, she ruins the entire plan. This is Mal. She is Cobb's deceased wife.
But she is not just a memory.
Right. She is a rogue, uncontrollable projection born entirely of his own intense grief.
Yeah, and that means Cobb's mind is uniquely compromised.
How so?
Well, an extractor needs to be completely in control to possess airtight psychological discipline because any emotional leakage bleeds into the shared dream space.
So his trauma is literally leaking into the room.
Exactly. Mal represents Cobb's absolute inability to let go of the past. She is a physical manifestation of his self-sabotage.
That's terrifying.
Because he cannot forgive himself for her death, his subconscious continuously generates her as an antagonistic force, making him a massive liability to anyone sharing a neural link with him.
Wait, I'm stuck on this point, though. They're literally architects of a dream world. If Mal shows up, or if Saito's guards start shooting, why go through the trouble of shooting back with conventional weapons? I mean, why can't the dreamer just snap their fingers and turn the guards into dust, or, like, imagine a titanium shield around themselves?
It's a great question. It comes down to the fundamental rules of the subconscious.
Okay.
The entire deception relies on the target believing the dream is reality.
Right. If they know they're dreaming, the gig is up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you change the dream architecture too radically, or if you introduce impossible, physics-defying elements right in front of the target, you instantly alert their subconscious to the artificiality of the world.
That the mind recognizes the anomaly.
Yes. And when that happens, the projections stop acting like background extras. They turn into a defense mechanism.
Like an immune response.
Exactly like that.
Yeah.
Think of it like a body's immune system. If you introduce a virus, the white blood cells mobilize, swarm the foreign entity, and destroy it.
Oh.
In the dream, if you start playing God by defying physics, the target's projections will swarm you like white blood cells. They will hunt you down and kill you to protect the host's sanity.
And if they kill you in a standard dream, you just wake up.
Right.
But if you wake up before you open the safe and find the secret, you fail the mission.
And in Cobb's line of work, failing a mission for ruthless corporate clients usually means you end up dead in the real world.
So they have to play by the rules of physics to keep the target's mind docile.
That constraint is what makes the narrative so tense, you know. They're omnipotent in theory, but severely restricted in practice.
So because Mal ruins the illusion, the extraction fails. Saito realizes he's dreaming, he wakes up, and Cobb's team is staring down the barrel of a disastrous failure.
They immediately go on the run.
Yeah, they run. But Saito tracks them down, and he doesn't bring hitmen. Instead, he flips the script entirely.
This is where it gets really interesting.
Right. He reveals that he allowed the extraction to happen as an audition. He wanted to see if Cobb was as good as his underground reputation suggested.
And then he offers Cobb a job that borders on the mythical.
Not extraction.
Inception.
Okay, so extraction is finding a thought and stealing it. What is inception?
Inception is planting a new thought so deeply that it grows organically.
Oh, that sounds so much harder.
It is. Saito wants Cobb to go into the mind of a rival corporate heir and plant a specific, highly destructive belief. He wants this rival to decide, entirely of his own volition, to dismantle his own multi-billion-dollar empire.
Arthur, Cobb's partner, immediately says it can't be done. The mind will always reject an alien idea.
But Cobb says it can be done.
And the reward Saito offers is the one thing Cobb cannot walk away from. Saito is a man of immense, almost unfathomable global influence.
He's incredibly powerful.
Yeah, and he tells Cobb that if he successfully executes this inception, Saito will make a single phone call to the authorities. That call will miraculously clear Cobb of the murder charges surrounding his wife's death,
allowing him to finally return to the United States and see his children.
Right. Saito has identified the only currency Cobb cares about: his desperation to be a father again.
It totally sets the stage for a heist driven not by greed, but by an agonizing emotional need.
But to pull off something this structurally complex, Cobb has to assemble a highly specialized crew. Standard extractors just won't suffice for Inception.
No, he needs the best of the best.
He starts by recruiting a new architect to design the dreamscapes. Because Cobb's subconscious is infected by Mal, he can't know the layouts himself.
Right. If he knows the maze, Mal knows the maze, and she will use that knowledge to ambush the team.
So he travels to Paris and recruits Ariadne, this brilliant, prodigy-level architecture student.
Ariadne's role introduces us to the true artistry of dream design.
She isn't just decorating rooms.
Not at all. She has to construct complex, paradoxical spaces. She utilizes impossible geometry like the Penrose stair.
Oh, the staircases that loop infinitely back onto themselves without ever going up or down.
Exactly those. These visual paradoxes are crucial. They create closed loops within the dream, allowing the team to effortlessly evade the target's subconscious security.
Trapping the target's projections in a continuous loop.
Yes, and doing it without altering the fundamental physics of the world enough to trigger an immune response.
That's incredibly smart. So the rest of the crew fills specific vital roles, too. There is Ames, the forger.
Right, the identity thief, basically.
Yeah. In a dream state, Ames has the psychological ability to observe a person's mannerisms, their vocal cadence, and their vocabulary, and completely impersonate them within the dream.
He doesn't just put on a mask. He takes on their identity to manipulate the target's emotional state.
Then there is Yusuf, the chemist.
Yusuf is essential here.
Why is that? I mean, they already have the briefcase?
Well, to plant an idea securely enough that it takes root, they're going to have to go incredibly deep into the target's mind. A standard sedative just won't keep the dream stable at that depth.
Okay, I see.
Yusuf formulates a custom, highly potent pharmacological compound that allows for deep, undisturbed dreaming across multiple layers of the subconscious.
Wow. And while Ariadne is learning how to bend physics, the narrative introduces the concept of the totem.
This is such a cool concept.
It really is. When you spend your life jumping into other people's constructed realities, your own sense of what is real begins to fray. So a totem is a small, personalized, physical object.
It has a specific weight, a center of gravity, or a flaw that is known absolutely only to its owner.
Right. And Cobb's totem is that small metal spinning top that used to belong to his wife.
It acts as an anchor to the waking world.
Because if you were in someone else's dream, the architect who built that dream doesn't know the precise exact weight of your totem.
Exactly. So if Cobb spins his top, and it behaves according to the strict laws of real-world physics, wobbling, losing momentum, and eventually falling over, he knows he's awake.
But if he spins it in a dream, the top will spin perfectly infinitely because it's operating on dream logic, not physical gravity.
It is an objective, unassailable test of reality.
Moving back to the objective of the mission, though. Inception. The challenge here is immense.
Human beings are incredibly protective of their own agency. We like to believe our thoughts are our own.
Totally. I want to use an analogy here. It feels like Inception is trying to plant a fully grown oak tree in someone's front yard in the middle of the night without them noticing, rather than just sneaking in and stealing an apple off a branch.
Let's expand on that analogy because it gets to the core of why Inception is so difficult.
Okay.
If you plant a fully grown oak tree, the homeowner will wake up, look out the window, and instantly know someone put it there. The dirt is disturbed, the roots aren't integrated.
Right, it's obviously fake.
The human mind is highly resilient. It always traces the genesis of an idea. If an idea feels foreign, the mind rejects it as artificial.
So you can't plant a tree?
You have to plant a seed. You have to place that seed so deeply in the fertile soil of the subconscious that when it sprouts, the target truly believes they planted it themselves.
You have to engineer an emotional environment so profound that the target arrives at the conclusion organically.
Exactly. And the soil they are targeting belongs to Robert Fisher.
Right, Fisher. He is the heir to a massive global energy conglomerate. His father, Maurice Fisher, is on his deathbed.
And Saito's goal is for Robert to dissolve this empire upon his father's death, preventing a monopoly that would crush Saito's own business.
To achieve this, the team realizes a single dream state is insufficient.
Right, completely insufficient. The conscious mind will reject a suggestion that radical.
So what do?
They must bypass the conscious mind, bypass the superficial subconscious, and reach the absolute core of Fisher's emotional being. They must go 3 dream levels deep.
A dream within a dream within a dream.
Yes. And this requires unparalleled stability. which is why Yusuf's heavy sedative is not just helpful, it's mandatory.
But Yusuf's sedative introduces a terrifying game-changing rule.
The stakes get so high here.
They really do. Normally, if you die in a dream, the shock acts as a kick and you snap awake.
But because this sedative depresses brain function to a near comatose state, if you get killed in this mission, you will not wake up. The shock won't break the chemical hold.
So what happens to you?
Your consciousness will drop out of the constructed dream layers and fall into what they call limbo.
Limbo.
That sounds awful. It is raw, infinite, unconstructed subconscious space. It is a shared void. There is nothing there except what might have been left behind by anyone on the team who was previously trapped there.
And if you fall into limbo, your mind essentially turns to mush. You lose your grip on reality.
Because time moves exponentially faster in dreams, you might spend decades down there.
Decades.
Yeah, completely forgetting that you were ever dreaming in the first place, living out an entire hollow lifetime as an old man in a void, while your body sleeps for a few hours in reality.
It is a fate worse than death. It's an eternity of madness.
To navigate this immense risk, they focus heavily on Fisher's psychology.
Right. They discover he has a fraught relationship with his dying father. Maurice Fisher was a demanding, cold titan of industry who constantly shared disappointment in his son.
Eames and Cobb realize they must weaponize this emotional trauma. They aren't just hacking a brain to steal account numbers. They are performing delicate, highly manipulative emotional surgery.
They need to shift Robert Fisher's profound desire for his father's approval into a cathartic desire to forge his own independent path.
His singular, all-consuming obsession is getting back to his children. He knows with absolute certainty that if he tells the team about the limbo risk beforehand, they will walk away.
The risk profile is simply too high.
So, he revokes their agency. He puts the lives and the eternal sanity of his closest allies on the line without their informed consent, purely because he cannot bear to lose his only ticket home.
It shows how profound trauma and desperation can entirely erode a person's ethical boundaries. He is willing to sacrifice their minds to save his own life.
Think about the lengths we go to when driven by singular obsessive grief. It makes you dangerous to everyone around you.
So the trap is set. The descent begins in the physical world.
On the airplane.
Yeah, they purchase the airline running the route and book out the entire first-class cabin on a long-haul flight from Sydney to Los Angeles.
This gives them 10 hours of uninterrupted flight time.
They orchestrate a situation where Fisher is offered a drink laced with the sedative. He passes out, and the team quickly hooks up the intravenous dream machine, connecting themselves to Fisher's mind. They all close their eyes.
And they arrive in level 1.
The rainy city.
This layer is Yusuf's dream. The team wakes up in a bustling, gritty, chaotic metropolitan city. And it is pouring rain. A torrential, unending downpour.
And the rain is entirely because Yusuf had too much champagne to drink before going under, right?
Yes. His full bladder in the physical reality is manifesting as severe weather in the dream environment.
It's such a brilliant detail. The physical body still influences the subconscious environment.
But they don't have time to admire the weather. Things immediately disastrously go wrong.
Yeah, they are driving through this rainy city in a taxi, and suddenly they are ambushed. Heavily armed mercenaries in SUVs surround them and open fire with automatic weapons.
It is a terrifying kinetic bloodbath.
The windows shatter, the metal tears, and they barely escape into a warehouse.
This ambush is a devastating shock. They realize that Robert Fisher is not a soft target.
His mind has been militarized.
Exactly. As a high-value corporate heir, Fisher has undergone intense subconscious security training. He has been trained to actively defend his mind against extractors.
Wow, so his subconscious has generated these heavily armed projections that act as a private mental army, designed to ruthlessly hunt down and eradicate foreign intruders.
And during this fierce shootout, Saito is hit.
Oh, that's right. He is shot in the chest and gravely wounded. He is bleeding out on the floor of the warehouse.
Arthur immediately suggests they just put a bullet in his head to wake him up and board the mission.
But this is the moment Cobb is forced to reveal the terrible truth about Yusuf's sedative. They can't shoot him.
No. If Saito dies here, he doesn't wake up in first class. He drops straight into limbo.
The stakes immediately become astronomical. Saito is slowly bleeding out. If he dies, he goes to limbo and his mind is lost.
If they fail the mission, Cobb doesn't get his phone call, and he never sees his children.
And they still have 2 more dream levels to navigate while fighting off an army of militarized projections.
To make matters more complicated, we have to talk about time dilation.
Oh man, the math on this is crazy.
Brain function operates much faster in a dream state. So the 10 hours of sleeping on the airplane translates to about a week of experience time down in level 1,
A whole week.
and that temporal compound interest continues as they go deeper.
Right, so 1 week in level 1 becomes 6 months of experience time in level 2.
And those 6 months become roughly 10 years of experience time in level 3.
So while Saito might have 10 hours to live on the plane, the agonizing tension is that his gunshot wound in level 1 will bleed him out in a matter of days.
As they drop deeper, the clock slows down relative to the layers above, stretching his suffering and their window of execution into agonizing temporal realities.
We brought up the idea of a Russian nesting doll earlier to describe the dream levels, but how does time dilation fit into that?
Well, taking that nesting doll analogy further, imagine the space inside each smaller doll gets thicker, more viscous. The friction of time itself drags.
Okay, I can picture that.
If you knock over the largest outer doll, it falls in a second. But if you are standing inside the smallest innermost doll, you experience that exact same fall in extreme, agonizing slow motion, lasting for years.
Every movement above you echoes down to you as a geological event.
Exactly.
Despite the ambush, despite Saito bleeding out, they decide they have to push forward. They kidnap Fisher in the rainy city. Ames, the forger, uses his skills to impersonate Peter Browning, who's Fisher's godfather and his father's closest, most trusted confidant.
Eames, looking and sounding exactly like Browning, is captured alongside Fisher.
Through subtle manipulation, Eames implies to Fisher that Maurice Fisher's true dying wish was not for Robert to inherit the company, but for Robert to destroy it, to finally be his own man.
This is the first seed, the initial microscopic scratch on the surface of Fisher's reality.
But they can't stay in level 1 to let it grow. The militarized projections are closing in on their warehouse hideout. Yusuf gets behind the wheel of a heavy passenger van, with Fisher and the rest of the sleeping team in the back.
Yusuf's job is to drive the van, evade the projections through the rainy city, and eventually drive the van off a high bridge.
The feeling of falling from the bridge will initiate the kick that will wake the team up from level 2.
Right. So as Yusuf frantically drives the van through the torrential rain, dodging bullets, the rest of the team in the back of the van hook themselves up to a secondary dream machine.
They go to sleep again while already dreaming.
And they plunge into level 2.
The hotel.
This is Arthur's dream.
Great.
They wake up in a luxurious, warm-toned, incredibly elegant hotel. The contrast from the gritty, wet, chaotic city is instantly jarring. It feels safe.
But the danger hasn't passed. Fisher's subconscious security is still highly active. His projections in the hotel begin to hunt them.
Realizing they are outgunned and running out of time because Saito is coughing up blood, Cobb decides to execute an incredibly risky, highly unorthodox psychological maneuver.
The Mr. Charles Gambit.
This gambit relies on aggressive psychological manipulation.
He doesn't hide from Fisher.
No. Cobb walks right up to Robert Fisher at the hotel bar, sits down, looks him directly in the eye, and claims to be a manifestation of Fisher's own subconscious security.
It's so bold.
Cobb tells Fisher, point blank, "We are currently in a dream. Someone is trying to extract information from you, and I am a projection your mind created to protect you."
It's like convincing a bank manager that you're a high-level government security auditor, pointing out that their vault is vulnerable, so they just willingly open the main vault for you to inspect the cash.
That's a perfect analogy.
But how does that actually bypass a militarized subconscious? Why wouldn't Fisher's projections just shoot Cobb at the bar?
Because Cobb aligns himself with the defense mechanism. He validates Fisher's paranoia, but redirects the target of that paranoia. He convinces Fisher that the person trying to hack his mind isn't Cobb, but Peter Browning, the Godfather.
By pointing the finger at Browning, Cobb forces Fisher's conscious mind to turn against its own subconscious defenses.
Fisher, believing he is fighting off Browning's psychic attack, willingly agrees to go into a shared dream with Cobb to find out what Browning is hiding in his mind.
He voluntarily participates in his own mental hacking.
It is breathtakingly manipulative.
So they set up another dream machine inside a hotel room in level 2. Arthur stays behind in the hotel to protect their sleeping bodies and to manage the kick.
His job is to drop the floor out from under them in the hotel room, using explosives to wake them up from level 3.
The rest of the team goes to sleep.
And they plunge into level 3.
The snow fortress.
This is Eames's dream. They emerge onto a freezing, windswept, snowy mountain peak, facing a heavily fortified, brutalist snow compound.
This stark fortress represents the deepest, most secure vault of Fisher's mind.
Their goal is to fight their way inside, get Fisher into the central vault, and allow him to uncover the final, planted emotional truth that will solidify the Inception.
But we have to look at what is happening across all three levels simultaneously, because the synchronization required here is mind-bending.
It really is a logistical nightmare.
In level 1, Yusuf is driving the van. He gets cornered by the projections on a bridge and has no choice but to drive off the edge.
As the van goes into free fall off the bridge towards the water, that physical sensation of falling translates down to level 2.
Because the bodies of the dreamers in level 1 are suddenly experiencing zero gravity in the falling van, the physics of level 2 are completely altered.
The gravity in the hotel simply ceases to exist.
Arthur is suddenly floating weightless in the hotel corridor.
That hallway scene is iconic.
He is attacked by a projection, and he has to fight a hand-to-hand combat sequence while pushing off walls, spinning through the air, and choking a man out with his legs in complete zero-G.
It is an extraordinary visual and narrative set piece.
But the lack of gravity creates a massive problem, right? Arthur can't just drop the floor out from under his sleeping teammates to give them the kick, because without gravity, they won't fall.
Exactly. He has to improvise a synchronized explosion. He spends agonizing minutes floating through the hotel, tying the sleeping bodies together with cord, pulling them into an elevator car, and placing explosives on the elevator cables.
He plans to blow the cables so the force of the blast propels the elevator car down the shaft, simulating the feeling of falling.
And the margin for error is absolutely zero. He has to time this explosive propulsion perfectly with the exact moment the van hits the water in level 1 and with the explosion of the snow fortress in level 3.
The kicks must cascade synchronously, or the team gets ripped apart across the temporal layers, potentially trapping them forever.
Down in level 3, the snow compound, time is moving much faster, but they're still struggling. They are fighting through a blinding blizzard and heavily armed guards on skis.
They finally get Fisher to the doors of the central vault. It seems like they're going to pull it off, but then...
Cobb's unresolved trauma strikes with lethal force.
Mal.
Cobb's guilt manifests in the worst possible moment. Mal abruptly appears out of the shadows in the snow fortress. She is cold, unhesitating, and deeply vindictive.
And Cobb hesitates. He can't bring himself to shoot the image of his dead wife.
Mal raises a weapon and shoots Robert Fisher dead.
Oh my God.
And at almost the exact same moment, the temporal distortion catches up, and Saito finally succumbs to the gunshot wound he received in level 1.
The target is dead. The employer is dead. Because of the heavy sedative, they don't wake up in the hotel or the van. Fisher and Saito both drop into the abyss of limbo.
The mission has entirely collapsed.
And it's entirely Cobb's fault for bringing his unresolved psychological demons into the field.
Ariadne, the architect, had warned him. She spent the entire preparation phase seeing how much danger he was in, how his refusal to confront his guilt over his wife was a ticking time bomb.
And here, inches from the finish line, that bomb detonates.
But they can't just leave Fisher in limbo. If the target is lost, the Inception fails, Saito's empire falls, and Cobb can never go home. He will be hunted forever.
So Cobb and Ariadne make a desperate choice. They hook themselves up to the dream machine within the level 3 snow fortress, and they plunge into the deepest, most unmapped layer of the subconscious, limbo.
When they arrive in limbo, they don't find a snowy mountain or a hotel.
What do they find?
They find a sprawling, crumbling, decaying metropolis built on the shores of an infinite ocean. But it's not random architecture. It is built entirely from Cobb and Mal's memories.
Rows of houses they lived in, high-rises they visited, streets they walked, all constructed and slowly collapsing into the sea.
It's here, surrounded by the ruins of his past, that Cobb finally confesses his darkest, most terrible secret to Ariadne.
He explains why Mal went mad and why she is such a hostile projection.
Years ago, Cobb and Mal were experimenting with dream sharing. They pushed the limits, went too deep, and they got trapped in limbo.
They spent 50 years down there, decades of experience time, growing old together, building an entire world from their memories while their young bodies slept in reality.
For Mal, this world became everything. It was perfect. She could build whatever she wanted.
And after decades, she forgot it wasn't real.
She took her knowledge of reality, the truth that they were dreaming, and she locked it away in a metaphorical safe hidden within the basement of her childhood home in Limbo.
She actively chose to believe that Limbo was the real world, and she refused to ever leave.
Cobb knew they were losing their minds. He knew they had to wake up before their physical bodies withered away in reality. He begged her, but she wouldn't listen.
So to save her, Cobb performed the very first act of Inception. He broke into that metaphorical safe in her deepest subconscious, and he planted a single radical idea. Your world is not real. You need to wake up.
To enact this awakening, they walked to the train tracks they had built in limbo, lay down, and let a train run them over.
The violent shock killed them in the dream, and they finally woke up as young people back in their living room in the physical world.
Well, here is where the story turns into a devastating tragedy.
Right, so by trying to save her, he essentially gave her a mental virus that killed her in the real world.
Yes. The idea Cobb planted was highly contagious. Didn't stop growing when they woke up.
The seed, your world is not real, had rooted so deeply in her psyche that it infected her perception of the physical world.
She looked at her real children, her real home, and felt it was all a fake construct. She firmly believed she was still dreaming.
She believed the only way to truly wake up and return to her real children in limbo was to die in reality.
The irony is just suffocating. Cobb is recognized as a master extractor, the best in the world, but his most successful job planting a life-saving idea in his wife's mind is ultimately what drove her to suicide.
On their anniversary, to force Cobb to come with her, she staged a jump from a high-rise hotel ledge.
But before she stepped off, she planted evidence with 3 different psychiatrists, framing Cobb for her murder, believing she was doing him a favor by forcing him to flee and eventually wake up with her.
It highlights the profound ethical horror of Inception. You are altering the fundamental architecture of a person's soul without their consent.
Cobb broke his wife's mind. He destroyed the woman he loved. And the guilt of that action is the ghost that haunts every dream he enters. He is paralyzed because he knows he's directly responsible for her death.
In limbo, as Cobb finishes this confession, Ariadne realizes they have to move quickly to save Fisher. She finds Robert Fisher being held by Mal's projection on the balcony of one of Cobb's memory buildings.
In a shocking, decisive move, Ariadne shoots Mal, grabs Fisher, and pushes him off the ledge of the skyscraper.
This violent fall acts as a kick in limbo, synchronizing perfectly with Ames using a defibrillator to shock Fisher's dead body up in the Level 3 snow fortress.
Fisher gasps awake in Level 3. He realizes he has survived an attack, but what he believes are Browning's forces. And with the path clear, he finally enters the central vault of his own mind.
Inside the vault, the environment shifts. He finds a projection of his dying father in a sterile hospital bed. But his father doesn't have a corporate will or documents of succession.
Instead, Maurice Fisher opens a small bedside safe, and inside is a battered childhood paper pinwheel.
It's an object Robert had kept from a rare, fleeting moment of happiness with his father.
This is the culmination of the Inception. The projection of the father looks at Robert and tells him that he was never disappointed that Robert wasn't exactly like him. He was disappointed that Robert tried to be him instead of being his own man.
The planted idea takes root perfectly. Robert Fisher experiences a profound, tearful catharsis. He holds the pinwheel, weeping. He believes his father genuinely loves him and wants him to forge his own path.
In that moment, he decides to break up the empire.
The emotional manipulation here is staggering, though. Fisher is experiencing genuine healing, genuine tears, resolving a lifetime of deep-seated trauma. But we know it is entirely 100% engineered by thieves who are breaking into his mind to steal his empire for a corporate competitor.
It creates a profound dissonance for the audience. Fisher is undoubtedly a happier, more resolved person. He is free from his father's shadow.
But his realization is built on a fabricated foundation.
It forces us to ask whether the human need to believe in something positive, something healing, outweighs the artificiality of how that belief was planted. Does the end justify the means if the end is emotional salvation?
It's a question of psychological autonomy, but while Fisher has his revelation, the ticking clock runs out.
The synchronized kicks initiate across all the levels perfectly.
Eames blows up the snow fortress in Level 3 with explosives. Arthur detonates the zero-gravity elevator in the Level 2 hotel, sending the bodies plummeting down the shaft. The van finally smashes violently into the surface of the water in Level 1.
Ariadne rides the sequence of cascading kicks all the way back up the layers to the physical world.
But Cobb stays behind in the collapsing ruins of Limbo. He has 2 tasks left. First, he must confront the projection of Mal one final time.
He has to acknowledge that this shade of his wife is not real, that she is merely a fractured reflection of his own guilt.
He looks at her and admits that he can't stay because she isn't her. She is just a shade.
He finally accepts that he cannot build a perfect simulation of the woman he loved, and he lets her go. He forgives himself.
Second, he has to find Saito. Saito has been lost in limbo for what feels like decades of dream time.
Cobb wanders the decaying shores of his subconscious, losing his own grip on reality, until we reach the cinematic hook we started this deep dive with.
Cobb, exhausted, washing up on the beach, being brought before an incredibly old man in a crumbling Japanese castle.
The narrative loop closes perfectly. Cobb, retaining just enough of his purpose, reminds the agent Saito of their arrangement, that they were once young men who made a deal, and they need to take a leap of faith to come back to reality together. He asks Saito to honor their agreement.
Saito looks at the spinning top on the table, remembers the waking world, and reaches for a gun. And then everyone wakes up.
They are back in the quiet, brightly lit first-class cabin of the 747.
The flight is preparing to land in Los Angeles. Everyone is silent. Fisher looks thoughtful, changed, holding on to a newfound peace. Saito looks at Cobb, remembers his promise, picks up the phone and makes a single call.
The mission is a success. Cobb walks off the plane, approaches U.S. Customs with a heavy heart, and hands over his passport. The customs agent runs it, looks at him, and stamps it. Cobb is a free man. The phone call worked.
Cobb walks to the airport, meets his father-in-law, and they drive home. Cobb walks into his house, the house he has dreamed about obsessively for years. He walks up to the dining room table. He takes his totem, the metal spinning top, and gives it a hard spin on the table to verify he is finally in reality.
But then he hears his children laughing in the garden.
He calls out to them. They turn around and he walks away to embrace them.
And he leaves the top spinning on the table, entirely unobserved.
The camera pushes in closely on the spinning top. It spins flawlessly for a moment and then it wobbles, ever so slightly. But before it falls or before it corrects itself to continue spinning infinitely, the screen abruptly cuts to black.
That ending. It is the ultimate ambiguous cinematic moment.
The debate around it is legendary. Did it fall? Was he awake? Or was he still trapped in limbo, projecting an image of his kids? I mean, what is the actual takeaway from the spinning top?
The brilliance of the ending is that the physical state of the top is ultimately a misdirection. The true resolution of the story is not mechanical. It is emotional. For the entire narrative, Cobb has been a man obsessively watching that top to validate his reality, terrified of his own mind, unable to trust his own senses.
In that final moment, for the first time in the entire story, he spins it and walks away before it resolves.
He doesn't look back. He doesn't care if it falls.
Oh.
He has looked at his children, and he has made an emotional choice. He's chosen them as his reality, regardless of the physical plane he currently occupies. His internal journey from paralyzing guilt to acceptance is complete.
If a dream feels perfectly real and it gives you everything you ever wanted, at what point does it just become your reality? Does it even matter if it's a construct, if the joy and the connection are authentic? It's such a powerful philosophical angle to view our own lives through.
It challenges our very definition of what is real. If reality is defined by what we feel, what we connect with, and what gives our lives meaning, then Cobb's reality is his children. The mechanical verification of a piece of metal is secondary to the emotional truth he has finally embraced. He is no longer marooned.
Thank you for joining us on this intense dive into the architecture of the mind, the crushing weight of memory, and the incredible mechanics of dream sharing. We've navigated the paradoxical mazes, survived the synchronized kicks, and walked the decaying shores of limbo to find out what it means to truly forgive oneself.
I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over as you go about your day. We've talked extensively about Inception planting an idea so deeply that a person believes they generated it themselves.
Right.
Think about a core belief you hold about yourself right now. It could be a perceived limitation you can't shake, a deep-seated fear of failure, or a driving ambition that defines your daily life.
Okay.
If you sit quietly and trace that belief back to its absolute origin, can you be certain you planted that idea yourself? Or did someone else, a parent, a teacher, a passing stranger, leave it in the soil of your mind years ago without you ever realizing it had taken root?
Question your reality, but always remember to wake up. Until next time.